Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Speak On It. I am your boy, R.W. Coolins. First and foremost, giving honor to God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. How's everybody out there this morning? Hopefully everybody's tuned in. It's at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. That's what we do here every Saturday morning on the Speak On It show. You can find me on YouTube, R.W. Coolins, or you can find me on Facebook at R.W. Coolins. We're here, y'all. We are here. 3 days. 3 days until Election Day. 3 days until November 5th, Election Day. Tuesday, this week coming. So far, it's been a historic voter turnout, is what they're saying. Could be. We're almost halfway there. And what they're talking about is the number of people that have already voted. There's a lot of people, a lot of states, we went through them, that have early voting. There's only 3 states, and I want to find them here, that do not have early voting. And that's Alabama, Mississippi, and New Hampshire. Alabama, Mississippi, and New Hampshire are the only 3 states that do not have early voting. But of the early voting that we have seen, I got to prove this off NBC this morning, more than 64 million Americans have cast their vote already in the 2024 general election. Let me say that again. More than 64 million Americans have cast their vote already in the 2024 general election. Equivalent to about 40% of the total vote in 2020. 64 million Americans have cast their vote, and that's equivalent to about 40% of the total vote in 2020. And as of the early vote count climbs, here it shows it had a map and 2 charts. You can find this on NBC, And it says, unlike 4 years ago when mail-in ballots accounted for almost 2/3 of the early vote because of the pandemic, there has been an almost even split this year between mail-in and early in-person voting, with in-person ballots accounting for 54% of all early votes as of Friday morning. That's where we're at. Ryan Hoodie, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Reggie P. Rowe, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks for tuning in. It also says the pandemic era 2020 election had the highest ever early vote totals at more than 101 million. Or 63% of all votes cast. But besides 2020, the share of early votes has remained steady since 2012, even as early vote totals have increased. In 2012 and 2016, early votes were about 36% of all votes. This comes as more states offer more options for people to cast their ballot. In 2000, fewer than half the states offered early voting. And as of 2024, as I mentioned, only 3 states, Alabama, Mississippi, and New Hampshire, don't offer in-person early voting. So I want to give all y'all kudos for y'all that early voted. Everybody out there that's early voted, thank you for doing your due diligence. Thank you for getting out there and taking care of what needs to be taken care of, and making sure that your voice is heard in this election. Willis Cheney, my brother, good morning. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. So 3 days, y'all. 3 days. Now, here's the thing. Now, let me tell you what I've heard about the early voting. Early voting, mail-in voting, all those type things. Those things, Miss Andrew, good morning. Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Those things what gets counted first, let's just start here. What gets counted first on election day are in-person ballots. So when you see these numbers start coming in early in the election, early in the voting, after the election is over, after the voting is over, stopped, the votes that get counted first are the ballots from that day, November 5th. The people that vote that day, their votes will be counted first. Then it's the early voting and then the mail-in voting after that. So be aware of that. If you see the numbers look a little crazy or whatever, or you don't think those numbers look right, just hold on, hold your horses. There's a process that they have to go through where same day voting, then early voting, and then mail-in voting, because they cannot count the early voting on the mail-in voting until that day as well. It's just the way it is. All those votes that got out there right now, we have no clue of who, what, when, where, and why. They cannot count those ballots until election day. And I want to say what I said is true, but I will find out for y'all and post it somewhere. But that's the way I heard it. Y'all may have heard it different. If you have, correct me. But from what I was told, they don't start counting. They count same day voting on election day first. Then they do the early voting, and then they do the mail-in voting. So be aware of that if you start seeing numbers and everything. But you know, there's a lot going on with this voting. But I'm going to go ahead. I didn't put it up today because we're here. But there may be somebody, that still needs this information. Can I vote? www.nass.org/can I vote. Now I'm going to put the slides up today, but if you know anybody that still has not voted, still has not registered to vote, or don't know if they're able to vote, send them to the website www.nationalassociationsofsecretaryofstate.org. Can I vote? Now, we've been talking about this for a while. So anybody out there, that listened to the show or has listened to the show one time and still doesn't know what they need to do to go find a registration or whatever, come on. We late in the game. I told you, don't wait until the 59th hour. This is where we're at. 3 days, y'all. 3 days. I'm excited about election day on Tuesday. James Battle, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate you. So let's get into this. Here they are. Donald Trump and J.D. Vance, Kamala Harris, Tim Walz. These are your nominees for president of these United States of America. And as we're talking about voting at this time, we all know the track records, but I'm going to get into some things that went on this week. But we know the track records of both individuals. You got the one was president 4 years, gave tax cuts to the wealthy, all that kind of stuff. What's this? Terrence Collins. Good morning, my brother. Greetings from Spain. My brother. Appreciate you, bro. Thanks for tuning in from Spain. I'm jealous, but I'm not jealous. But you do your thing. Appreciate you, bro. But we know tax cuts for the wealthy. Pandemic was a hoax. So on and so forth of everything he did. They say the economy was good under Trump, but if you heard President Obama's speech the other day, he let you know that Donald Trump was riding his coattails off of 8 years of a good economy. That's how he got the economy where it was at. We've seen what happened with the economy after he did what he did, put us more in debt with the deficit and everything like that. Convicted felon, just haven't been sentenced yet. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. Then we talk about Kamala Harris, Vice President, Attorney General, District Attorney, highly educated, doing the things that need to be done for this country in a way that I don't think a lot of people give her credit for. The biggest argument with Kamala Harris was not her policies and everything. Is she black? What did she do to black men when she was in there, such and so forth and everything? But you've never heard anybody say she's convicted of anything. Let me say that again. You never heard anybody say she's convicted of anything other than just being who she is. You make the choice. But here's something that I found. Also, this week, the article says women are voting and it's driving MAGA men mad. Several, popular pro-Trump influencers throwing tantrums about women voting for Kamala Harris, with some suggesting women shouldn't be allowed to vote at all. Now, this is where you know that the misogynistic personnel on the other side of the aisle, we have some on both sides of the aisle, let's just be real, but they're loud about it. They're saying that women shouldn't be allowed to vote. And then I read this article, and I think it's in here somewhere, that says that women should not be allowed to vote. And if any women are voting differently than their husbands, which the ones that are voting for Trump, if the women are not voting for Trump, voting for Kamala Harris, it's deception. It's grounds for divorce. You're cheating. All the different things you can think about. This is what they're saying about this election. Let me get into this. With election day just around the corner, conservative influencers are openly fretting about women voting, especially as NBC News reports that Harris has a 33-point advantage among women. Some of those influencers are upset at the idea of a woman having the freedom to pick whoever she votes for, while others are throwing tantrums about women being allowed to vote at all. But the outrage is a predictable development from a movement that has prided itself on its performative machismo and outright misogyny. Just this week, John McEntee, a former Trump campaign official and Project 2025 advisor, shared a video in which he openly suggests a repeal of women's voting rights in order to have male-only voting. When Kamala Harris' campaign called out his video, McEntee responded, relax, it's only a joke. It's only jokes, unless. Elsewhere, Turning Point USA founder and far-right activist Charlie Kirk, a prime peddler of the whole only real men vote for Trump propaganda, has been having conniptions about women exhibiting any political independence. Kirk seemed appalled by a Democratic ad that reminds women their vote is private and needing to align with their husbands. During a recent podcast appearance, he shuddered to think some Republican women might undermine their husbands by voting for Harris, even though, as he says, their husband works his tail off to make sure that she can have a nice life. This is what they mean when they say, make America great again. Let's go back to the past where women don't have rights. You know, people of color don't have rights, brown, black, whatever you want to call it, all the people. They just want white men to have authority over everyone in this country. And then Charlie Kirk mentioned, early vote has been disproportionately female. If men stay at home, Kamala Harris is president. It's that simple. He ended his post by saying, men to go vote now. So they're scared. They're really scared because women, and specifically, because we know how black women are voting. We know how they're doing their thing. But white women are scaring them at this particular time with their votes. And there's this other article. You know, I've been on this black men thing, or black men voting for Trump and all this, and everybody was in an uproar, when we talked about how Obama talked to the black men, and then they were saying black men are gravitating towards Trump and all this kind of stuff. Well, Brian Hoodie, Handmaid's Tale. I still haven't watched that, bro, but anybody that's watched it, chime in. If you haven't watched it, Brian Hoodie suggests you watch it. It's a precursor to what they're trying to do here in America. Thank you, bro. But it says, this is the article. It says, forget black men. Why this is really the moment of truth for white women voters. Prize-winning writer, white women need to step it up. If they collectively do not reject Trump, it cements a long-standing irony. And this was 9 hours ago. Derek Z. Jackson wrote this article. It says, this is the most telling chance yet to get out of the bed with misogyny and white supremacy. In the 2016 presidential election, white women, 30% of the nation's population, made up 41% of people who voted, the biggest block by race and gender. A plurality of white women chose Donald Trump over Hillary Clinton. They chose him despite Trump boasting that a Supreme Court packed by him would automatically overturn Roe versus Wade and abortion rights. In 2020, they chose Trump by even a wider margin, 53% to 46%. That was despite a presidency where he attacked a multitude of social safety net and health programs that disproportionately affect women and children. Nearly 2/3 of recipients in SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, are white. Let me read that part again, because I think that's something a lot of people want to hear out there. Nearly 2/3 of recipients in SNAP, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, are white. You know how we get on this thing and you hear people talking about welfare and benefits, government benefits and all this, and they want to put it on the black and brown people in this country and everything. No. 2/3 of recipients in SNAP are white. But I digress. Let me keep going. This article goes in depth about how we, society, have been hell-bent and focused on black men, young black men with their mindset that they want to vote for Trump, or Trump is this and Trump is that. But they're not going to be the deciders in this election. It's white women. And it showed, because when Hillary Clinton ran, they went away from her. 46%, only 46% voted for Trump at that time. 53% in this last election in 2020. White women voted for Donald Trump. Let's see what the numbers say this time. Because here's why I'm bringing this up. I'm bringing this up because I want people to understand. It's not a black thing. It's not a white thing. This is what this nation is all about. Let's just be real. And what it comes down to is this. We get caught up in the fact that when elections come around, they're pandering for the black vote by any means necessary. But what they seem to overlook is the fact that white women have driven the elections year after year after year. Case in point, as I was just reading, why do you think these Trump sycophants are so hell-bent on women not being able to vote? They don't want women to vote for the simple fact that they know that they're easily swayed more towards right than wrong. And there's some people that follow Donald Trump that feel so strongly about him and his views and everything else that he's done. However, white women are going to be the deciding factor in this. And this article states that. Everything that I've read up to this point has stated that. Election, excite, worried, and a little scared simply because Trump. We know, no need to go there, plain nuts. Harris, how strong was AIPAC's hold on her? My opinion, if we continue to back Israel, we'll go down hand in hand with Israel. Today, globally, we have no more face to save. And here's the thing, and I'll say it this way. When we talk about Israel, Gaza, everything that's going on in the Middle East right now, I think what we have to do is step back for a minute and ask this question. When we talk about voting for the president, the first thing that a lot of people concentrate on is right here. What is that person going to do here in this country for the people in this country? Secondary, a lot of people don't even pay attention to everything going over there. Not that it's right or wrong, but a lot of people have their own interests on what's going to affect them here. Now, when you say how strong is AIPAC's hold on her, well, we don't know. But then we have to ask the question, how much of a hold does Netanyahu have on Trump? All these things go hand in hand. We can go back and forth as far as what we think, but the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding, and I think one of the things we have to realize is this. When we talk about foreign affairs, the president, in most cases, is not the one dealing with the foreign affairs directly. The ambassadors, the Secretary of State, those are the people that are out doing these negotiations and everything. Yes, is the plan established on how we're going to deal with these things from the president? Yes. But I'll ask this question. When we talk about, foreign affairs and everything, I seen someone, a young black man, and I posted it on the thing, his mother, and I'm changing up a little bit, but his mother called a radio station, a talk show, and said that she was a little upset because her young son, decided he was going to vote for Trump. And when the women on the show started asking him why, his response was, I don't think foreign countries will take her seriously, us having a woman president. They pushed back and said there's women presidents or prime ministers in other countries. He didn't know that. See, the information needs to get out there now. Going back to the Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, I think we have to look at it this way. Donald Trump was president for 4 years, and there's a lot of countries that laughed at us for those 4 years. No matter what the situation was, no matter where he was going, when he went to these different meetings with other world leaders, and he pushed one guy out of the way for a photo op and all these different things, they don't forget that. Donald Trump made us as the United States of America look like bullies during that time, where he was just trying to impose his will on people in other countries. That's not what we do. When we talk about Kamala Harris and whether whether someone's in her pockets or got a hold on her, well, we can say that about all politicians. If you really look at the big picture, look at what's going on with Ukraine and Russia. We got people going back and forth about they're supporting whatever his name is, Putin, rather than Ukraine, when Putin is the one who invaded Ukraine. And we have politicians, congressmen, senators, who are supporting Putin in this endeavor. Here we go. James Ballard. AIPAC has a much greater hold on Trump. Trump will ensure that the Palestinians suffer forever. See, I don't know too much about this, and I'm not even going to act like I do. What I do know is it needs to stop. Let's just be real. It needs to stop across the board. Ukraine, Russia, Israel, Gaza, Palestinians, all these things need to come to a halt. But we can't expect whoever's president for us to be the loudest voice in the room every time something pops off in these foreign countries, between foreign countries. I understand we have allies and everything like that, but who made us the world's police? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Corporations call the shots with regards to foreign affairs. Our president will carry out the corporate mandates. Yes. Understood. Thumbs up. Yes. And that's the thing. When we get into that, and as I said, when people are going to the polls for this election, a lot of it is self-centered on inflation, security, different things like that. I don't think a lot of people are actually really going to the polls voting for our president, depending on what's going on in Israel and Gaza, or Palestine, or Russia, Ukraine. I think those are afterthoughts, in my opinion. I think one of the biggest questions people want to know is, how's this president going to make my life better? They ain't worried about, as bad as it may seem, they're not worried about, and let's just be real, what's going on with the people in Palestine. It's just what it is. We have people that are out here supporting Palestine and staying up for Palestine. You know, it is what it is. But you have a lot of people that when they go to the polls, that's not the first thing on their mind. So we'll see how it turns out. And then, you know, our foreign relations, they need to change. Think about this. And then I'm gonna change up. But when we talk about foreign relations, we have North Korea, who Donald Trump went and visited, and Kim Jong-un called him a great leader and all this, and Putin, where North Korea has sent troops to help Russia in the fight against Ukraine. Think about that. North Korea has sent troops to help Russia fight in the war with Ukraine right now. But a lot of people aren't talking about it because it doesn't affect them. And nobody really looks at the bigger picture on what this could mean. Because with Russia and North Korea being in cahoots, if it works in Ukraine, what's their next mission? What's the next thing they may try to do? Those are all things that we can speculate on, but do we really know? So, you know, it's we'll see. But I got some videos I want to show y'all too. So I don't want to get hold up on this, but it's election weekend, pre-election weekend, and I want to get through a lot of things here. But I want to play this video first. Now this, and I put them in a different way so they will play thoroughly because they hesitate sometimes. However, I want to play these videos. This is one, and everybody heard about, you know, Madison Square Garden and what was going on with the rally the other day. But I want to start off with this. And these are some people that are Trump supporters who took the stage the other day. And then I'm going to follow it up with a video of Representative Byron Donalds and what he had to say after the fact when he was asked about the rally. So here we go. This is the main one everyone talked about, the Puerto Rico comment. Here we go.
You know, there's a lot going on. Like, I don't know if you guys know this.
Guys, there's literally a floating island of garbage in the middle of the ocean right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. The black guy with the thing on his head. What the hell is that? A lampshade? Look at this guy.
Oh my
goodness.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. That's one of my buddies. We had a Halloween party last night. We had fun. We carved watermelons together. It was awesome. This is really a morning crowd, huh? Radio hosts of Reginald on Many
targeting Harris. Her and her handlers will destroy our country. Trump friend David Brown calling her the devil. She is the Antichrist. Tucker Carlson also attacking the vice president. He was Indian American and black. The first Samoan Malaysian low IQ former California prosecutor ever to be elected president. And switched to President Trump. It needs to be a landslide. We need to slaughter this other people.
And this was at a rally. This was at a rally in Madison Square Garden the other day. And you heard the different verbiage they used to talk about Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, the Puerto Rico floating island of garbage, which everyone is in uproar about, but I'm going to get into that in a minute. But I want you to see the response. So they send Byron Donalds out. Everybody knows who Byron Donalds is right now, by now. But they sent him out, and he was on an interview. And this was his response to what was being asked of him in all the articles that came out. And I want you to listen to this.
This is the Wall Street Journal. They just have the big picture, but they say
economists warn of potential for inflation following election.
Look at that.
This is the MAGA Square Garden.
Right.
That's a great one, actually. That's fires election day, so we're can feel it.
Washington Post.
He's got the Daily News.
Interesting. We've been talking about Washington Post.
So tell me, Donald Trump obviously spoke to say something like that. I spoke. I say something like that. What I did not. Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Elon Musk, Howard Nutley. They say they're going to go cold. You know what they're doing.
The comments that
I didn't agree.
I didn't agree with the comedian said. I didn't think like you know right here on here. Like, wait, what?
Did that get a
No, nobody agreed with that. Nobody. I don't control
Trump's massive army was crude and racist insults. That did happen. You may not have been the one making them, but that did happen.
And Becky just said it. The campaign itself from it. They do not agree. I do not agree. Unfortunately, it was said that nobody agreed.
So this is Byron Donalds. This is what you got from Byron Donalds. Sorry about that feedback, y'all. I had the mics up turned up, but y'all got the gist of what he was saying. My bad. Appreciate that, people, for letting me know. But the feedback that was coming through, that was a mistake on my part. But y'all bear with me. But here's the thing. Everything that is said, that has been said about this, is an excuse. And it's an excuse because this is what we know to be true. So it turns out not only did the Trump campaign know the entirety of the comedian's racist set, they actually made him cut one of his jokes because it was too offensive, meaning they thought the ones that he kept were perfectly fine. They knew. There's no time, and this is what I know to be true, there's no time that anybody is able to get up on a stage to support someone or be speaking for someone without them doing a pre-read of what they're going to actually talk about and decide whether, because they don't want to be associated with that. So the fact that they signed off to allow him to go on the stage to do this and then try to backtrack saying none of them agreed with it because it didn't go over like they thought. Come on. What are we doing? What are we doing? This is the, these are the things that happen that you have to just sit back and laugh about, that you have to laugh about. Let's go back. And Battle says this. And he spoke with the song Dixie playing in the background, shows how ignorant he is. Dixie led to race riots in Alabama when I was in high school. It's a very racist song. Yeah, he walked out to the playing of Dixie. Byron Donalds did during that time before he gave his speech. I want to go back because someone had another comment what we were talking about before. Why foreign affairs on tax money? $5 billion to Israel for decades. Ukraine money plus how many proxy wars? We need that money at home. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think this affects our domestic affairs. But let's go into that. And it does. And me being a veteran, I'll say it this way. Us being, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I want you to think about it this way. We have American military members, service members, stationed all around this world in different countries, and not small presence, but large military installations around this world. But we don't have any other country's military stationed on our soil and have a base dedicated to them anywhere on United States soil. Anywhere. For me, and people will look at me funny because I'm a veteran, but when I served, and I served proudly at the time. But there's certain things that you realize and you understand differently after you've done or after you've been there. And I'll say it this way. Us being in all these foreign countries where they say that we're there simply for or supporting with money, billions of dollars and everything, because we can afford to fight wars, but we can't afford to feed the poor or the homeless that's on the street, which most are veterans, but I digress. But what I've come to understand is we're in all these countries because we choose to be. We have the technology and the wherewithal to be able to respond to places in a timely manner to help with these outbreaks of war and everything like that. However, we choose to stay in these countries as supposedly allies for their defense. I'll say it this way. The amount of money we spend annually, or you can just go monthly, at each one of these countries that we have a military installation in, if we pulled those military members back to the United States and defended our soil and only deployed when we needed to deploy, do you know how much money we would actually save by doing that? Because none of these countries are actually paying us to be there. We're paying them to secure the land. I didn't understand it when I was a young man in the military. I understand it now by reading and understanding how things work. And it goes back to something that I've said, and I'll say it again. We want to be and dictate what everyone else does in this world except on our homeland. We want to tell other countries how they should treat their people. We don't even do it here. We want to tell other countries what they should do as far as becoming a democracy, and we're losing it here. So the money we send is just a band-aid to show that, yeah, we have it when we want to make sure that they're okay, but we don't have it when we want to make sure the people in this country are okay, which bothers me when they start talking about and they get into the point of saying about the immigration problem, illegal immigration and all these things. Illegal immigration, to me, and I'll go down this rabbit hole again, to me, is not the biggest problem in this country. Illegal immigration is not the biggest problem in this country. The biggest problem in this country is we have money for anything and everything except what we need to help the people that are in this country, natural born citizens, to be able to survive and strive, because big corporations get all the tax breaks while we're the ones keeping big corporations awake and alive and being able for them who don't pay taxes to continue. You have these millionaires that continue to have their businesses strive while the rest of us are down here trying to make two ends meet. So when we talk about the money we send to these foreign countries, do I agree with it? No, I don't. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with our troops being overseas. Don't get me wrong. I've been to Philippines, Korea twice. Italy was a good experience. Yes. But do we really need to be there? That's the question. Why are we there? They say defense. Well, you have ways that you can deploy, as I mentioned, deploy strategically and quickly in locations where you need to be, like that. We've mastered it. But we choose to stay there because we want to dictate and control what happens in those countries where we're at. Just my opinion. You agree or you don't. It's up to you. But what I will say is this, and I'm going to bring this up again. Project 2025. Project 2025. Because as we're sitting here and we're discussing the foreign affairs and everything like that, Project 2025 is going to affect everyone and anyone in this country if Donald Trump and J.D. Vance become president and vice president of this United States. I'm gonna say it again. While we talk about foreign affairs and how much money we're sending to, all these different foreign countries and us having a presence in these different countries and everything like that, we're not gonna have to worry about that if this man gets back in office. Because if they're able to enact Project 2025, I'm gonna say it this way. A lot of people will be mad, but I'm just gonna say it. If they're able to implement the things that are in Project 2025, this country is going to look like the countries that we have served in that are considered third world countries or shithole countries. Let's just be honest. You're not going to have the freedoms you used to have that you have right now. You're not going to be able to do the things that you have been able to do up to this point. This is a threat. This is a threat to our democracy, Project 2025. But people want to act like it's not real. Oh, it's real. We've been through this too many times. It's real. These are the things that it's going to affect. I'll bring it up again. So all those people out there, and I say it this way, all those people out there that, are staunch Trump supporters and all that kind of that kind of stuff, be prepared. Because if you voted for him, this is what you're voting for. If you voted for him, this is what you're voting for. And I don't want to hear people that voted for Trump when this shit kicks in, because they're not going to separate who voted for him and who didn't vote for him. They're going after anyone that is middle class or at a certain level to make you lower class and enrich the people that they want to enrich. James Battle, if Trump is elected, there will be internment camps in America. There was a 60 Minutes article that I posted today, video, of the former ICE. He was over top of ICE. And he was on 60 Minutes. Now, I posted it on my page, and I want everybody to go watch that if you get an opportunity and listen to what he said about rounding up people and the mass deportation that they're talking about. Because there's some people that are going to get caught up in this mass deportation that shouldn't be caught up in it, just because of the way they look. And he has no regard for those people. If they're guilty or if they don't feel like they're supposed to be here, they're going to round them up and do it that way. And then they talked about how much it would cost. All these things are in effect. Brown Hoodie, this is phase 1. Yeah. Project 2025, we can forget it. Pack and hand over your house and car keys. You're going to hand over more than that, but yeah, that's the start. If Project 2025 is able to just be a small part of it implemented, case in point, if they're able to implement one part, and I'll say this, and a lot of people will look at it, but if they're able to implement this one part, it's over. And that's the removing the civil servants from the government that are positioned there to keep continuity and everything, that are nonpartisan. If he's able to put his people in those positions, everything that we know, from the Board of Education to the Department of Health, HHS, and all these different things, these departments that are established will be null and void. And the people that are going to suffer are me, you, our families, our children, everybody. But people say, oh, it won't happen. You don't write, as I said, you don't write 900 pages of something that you're not going to try to put in play. You're not. You just don't. It just does not happen that way. But I want to put this up too. While we were talking about defense and being around the country and all these different things, these are former military generals. And this is what they had to say about Donald Trump. John Kelly, General, Marine Corps. Certainly the former president is the far right area. He's certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist for sure, Kelly told the New York Times. Mark Milley, General, Army. Trump is a fascist to the core, Milley told the Washington Post by Woodward. James Mattis, General, Marine Corps. Donald Trump is the first president in my lifetime who does not try to unite the American people, does not even pretend to try. Instead, he tries to divide us, Mattis wrote in a June 2020 statement to The Atlantic. H.R. McMaster, Lieutenant General, Army. In the January 6th siege on the Capitol, Trump abandoned his oath to support and defend the Constitution, a president's highest obligation, McMaster wrote in his 2024 book. Mark Esper, Lieutenant Colonel, Army. After stolen documents were found at Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, Esper said that stashing them there was an irresponsible action that places our service members at risk, places our nation's security at risk. Stanley McChrystal, General, Army. McChrystal said Trump was immoral in a 2018 interview with ABC News. Mike Mullen, Admiral, Navy. During Trump's infamous St. John's Church photo op, Mullen wrote in 2020 he laid bare his disdain for the rights of peaceful protest in this country, gave supper to the leaders of other countries who take comfort in our domestic strife and risk further politicizing the men and women of our armed forces. James Stavridis, Art Admiral, Navy. Stavridis also criticized Trump's use of military force outside St. John's Church in 2020, calling it beyond the pale of American norms. Now that's 8 generals, or Lieutenant Colonel. This with 8 military officers who served under Donald Trump's time in certain positions. They're all saying these negatives about him. But we still have veterans who served this country honorably, still defending Donald Trump. Well, number one, it's not an issue, but it can be. Has never served a day in the military in his life, but at the same time, the reason he didn't serve because he was supposed to be drafted and put on, said he had bone spurs. So his father made a call to somebody so he wouldn't have to deploy or be called up. Come on. Spanish translation, está loco. I don't know if I said that right, but I appreciate that. James Battle. There are also CIA operatives speaking out. They know what he has already exposed to the enemy, and they know what else he's capable of. Yeah, and I said it last week, and I'll say it again. We still do not know the extent of the documents that he had down at Mar-a-Lago. We still do not know the extent of what he may have sold this country out to or who to the highest bidder. We don't know any of this. Why? Because the trial never came to fruition in Florida. Because someone he appointed as a judge decided to get rid of the case. This is where we're at, America. This is where we're at. He has people in places that are willing to lose their careers over him. Rudy Giuliani just lost the lawsuit to the 2 women in Georgia where he lied and said they were doing this and stealing votes and lying about something when they were passing a ginger writ. He's lost everything, including the fact that Donald Trump owes him like $2.2 million, and they put that in there for them to collect from Donald Trump. This is not a game, y'all. It's not a game, and as much as people don't want to look and see the big picture, and they think I'm on here just talking bad about Trump and everything, I read, I pay attention, I listen to all the different channels from Fox to America One News to CNN and MSNBC. I watch them all, so I can come up with my own understanding of what's going on. And one thing that we know, no matter what you watch, no matter how you listen, this person that they're talking about becoming president of the United States of America for the second time is unstable, unhinged, and you don't know what he's going to do to cover himself and his people in order to stay ahead. This election is very important. As much as people don't want to think it is, it's very important. He's going to make her attorney general if he wins. He's going to put crazy Robert F. Kennedy in charge of health policy. Yeah, you see him talking about who he's going to appoint to these locations and all this stuff. But I want to give you something. Those things don't scare me. They do, but they don't. But I'm going to tell you something in this article that I found that scares me while we're on this. And when I say scared, I'm not saying scared in the way, ooh. I mean, the potential of what could happen, it bothers me. I won't say I'm scared, but it bothers me. And I'm going to say it just like this. Trump advisors proposed bypassing FBI background checks for appointees. Memo prepared by ex-president's team urges him to grant security clearances without government vetting if elected. Let me read that one more time. Trump advisors proposed bypassing FBI background checks for appointees. Memo prepared by ex-president's team urges him to grant security clearances without government vetting if elected. This means anybody and everybody that he chooses to put in any position in the government, they want to bypass background checks for all of them. No matter what they've done, felons, whatever, they don't want to have to do background checks. If you remember, Jared Kushner couldn't get a background check and they pushed it through. There are many people in this last administration who couldn't get background checks and they held them up from doing their jobs, that now he's saying if he's appointed, they don't want anybody to have to go through background checks so they can just go in there and do their jobs. Now, mind you, what we're talking about is these people seeing and handling and understanding and being in briefings that has classified information that they don't need to. It's on a as you need to know basis, and by them bypassing these FBI vetting, these people are going to be able to hear and know things that they shouldn't know and be able to use them to their benefit for monetary gain, depending on who they want to sell it to, which is what Donald Trump did with those documents in Mar-a-Lago. It just hasn't come out yet. Donald Trump's aides have floated the idea of granting immediate security clearance to officials in a second term and doing away with FBI background checks for appointees who might otherwise fail the process, according to a person familiar with the matter. The plan would be intended to eliminate the risk of former presidents' nominees for senior posts being subject to intrusive background investigations intended to check for criminal histories, conflicts of interest, or other potential liabilities that would normally be deemed disqualifying. The proposal, initially reported by the New York Times, also recommends hiring private investigators and researchers to carry out the vetting historically conducted by the FBI and other government agents of which Trump has grown suspicious. The goal is to avoid a repeat of Trump's presidency when several appointees, including Jared Kushner, the ex-president's son-in-law, experienced long delays to their security clearance while the Bureau conducted extensive and intrusive checks. Background checks on government appointees have been part of the U.S. system for protecting classified national security secrets dating back to the Second World War and early Cold War. But it is based on executive orders and memorandums of understanding rather than the congressional legislation giving Trump leeway to upend the convention if elected. This is what bothers me. This is what I'm worried about. Because you have people, and I'll give you a couple names. Peter Navarro, that just got out of jail for denying to go to Congress. He just got out of jail. 4 months. And they're talking about bypassing his security background check in order for him to serve in this administration. Steve Bannon, same thing. But every military member knows that they do a background check on you before you can even serve your country, and you volunteered to do it. Say that again. Every military member who volunteers to serve this country has to go through an extensive background check to make sure that you don't have any nefarious things in your background. And if they do find things, you have a way that you can clear them up. We're talking about anything from bankruptcies to court, being in jail, serving time, all the different things you can think about that may come up in your background. They check for that when you actually raise your hand to join the military. Why should these people be exempt when they are going to be privy to the information that none of us that ever served in the military will probably ever see a day in our life, as far as the classified and the information that we don't have a need to know? But why do they? And why should they be able to bypass the systems that have been in place all this time just because Donald Trump feels that he doesn't want them to have to go through that because of what may be found out about them? Let that sink in. All the norms and all the things that this country and our military and our systems have been established on, him and his cronies want to eliminate. They want to get rid of, for the simple fact of they want to be able to run this country how they want to run it. Make America great again. No, make America right again. They want to be in the positions where anybody that is not white or a white male, has no say in what goes on in this country. I just mentioned it. They want to take voting rights away from women. And mainly white women, because they're not voting the same way as their white husband. But Project 2025 is a hoax. Project 2025, it'll never happen. We just seen the other day where Donald Trump was talking to Mike Johnson, where he said that they have a little secret. The House Speaker and Donald Trump have a little secret that everybody will find out once they win. There's speculation of, is that the Congress and the Senate overturning the will of the people as far as, certifying the vote? What is this little secret? Everybody's wondering, what's this secret? And he said it out loud. It's not something he whispered. They're bringing up Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, did a thing the other day behind a closed door, didn't know it was being recorded, and mentioned that they're going to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Not Obamacare. They don't want to call it Obamacare until they get ready to get rid of it. But the Affordable Care Act, they want to get rid of. Some are speculating that the secret is, once they get in office, they're not going to repeal the Obamacare. They're just going to change the name to Trump Care, to put his name on something. They're going to do legislation for that. That's what some people are saying. But I think they're going to get rid of it wholeheartedly. Why? Because they don't care. They talk about, let's go back to something we were talking about before. James Battle, the government will be filled with insurrectionists. Yeah, I'm sorry, bro. I didn't see your comment. Let's go back here for a minute. When we were just talking about the amount of money we spend going to all these different places or whatever, they always talk about the amount of money that the Affordable Care Act is taking from the budget, or how much it's costing the government. This is to keep people alive. This is to keep people allow them to have insurance with pre-existing conditions. And they're worried about the amount of money it costs. And as you mentioned before, the amount of money we're sending, $5 billion to Israel, Ukraine, much more than that. But we're worried about giving people health care in this country, citizens in this country, health care. Because they're more concerned about the insurers, the insurance companies, not getting the money that they think they should get. You remember when insurance premiums were so high before the Affordable Care Act? And how many people did not have insurance enough to go to the hospital when they were sick before the Affordable Care Act? But they want to make America great again? This is their statement, not mine. He said, we got to get the congressmen elected and we got to get the senators elected. We can take the Senate pretty easily, and I think with our little secret, we're going to do really well with the House. Our little secret is having a big impact. He and I have a little secret. We will tell you what it is when the race is over. This is what we're dealing with, y'all. This is what we're dealing with. Here's another video. This is a video from LeBron James posted. It's a video he did. He endorsed Kamala Harris the other day, but he put this video out, and I want to play it real quick. Here we go.
All right. Heck yeah. It's cool. Black guy. That's one of my buddies. We had fun. We carved watermelons together. It was awesome.
No, I'm not a racist.
They're taking black jobs now. The whole country's going to be like, it'll be like Detroit. A lot of it's about the genes, isn't it? Don't you believe? They're poisoning the blood of our country.
Troublemaker. These are troublemakers. Look, I love the old days, you know? Do you know what they used to do to guys like that when they were in a place like this? They'd be carried out on a stretcher, folks. Like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
Now, if you had one really violent day, like one rough hour, and I mean real rough, the word will get out and it will end immediately.
But we're going to indemnify police officers and law enforcement from being destroyed by the radical left. You're changing history, you're changing culture.
Of course I hate these people. And let's all hate these people, because maybe hate is what we need.
And that was a ad put out by LeBron James when he decided to put his endorsement behind Kamala Harris. And there are people in an uproar. Shut up and dribble. Remember those comments? Shut up and dribble. Keep politics out of sports and so on and so forth and everything. But they're in an uproar about LeBron James putting his scores out, but they're not in an uproar about a football player named Nick Bosa, who ran and interrupted an interview after the game with San Francisco 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy with a MAGA hat on, which NFL policies, from what I'm being said, I'm not a real football guy, but from the NFL policy said you're not supposed to make these type of political statements during the games and everything like that. But he came out with a MAGA hat, and there's nobody that has a problem with that. Now, I posted something also on my page where Ryan Clark on the pivot with his guys, Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor. Ryan Clark broke down Nick Bosa and what he did more eloquently than I can. So I would suggest you go watch that. If you can't find, just pull up the pivot, Ryan Clark, you'll be able to see it. But also, it's just, I want to backtrack for a minute and say this, and it's probably going to ruffle some people's feathers. April Weeden, good morning, sis, appreciate you. It's going to ruffle people's feathers, but I feel strongly about this, and I'm going to say it. The uproar that came out when the comedian, as I showed you, came out and said Puerto Rico was a floating island of garbage. And the uproar amongst, Puerto Ricans, Latino community and everything was loud, very loud, which I understand. What I don't understand is that it took someone to say that for them to get loud. And I asked this question facetiously, but when he said about shithole countries back in the day, he was talking about them too at that time. When he says these different things about third world countries and things like that, people forget Donald Trump went there for a hurricane response and threw paper towels at the people like he was helping. Says he's done more for Puerto Rico than anybody, any other president and all these different things, but he didn't even know Puerto Rico was part of the United States as far as a territory. Then his question was, are they able to vote? So there was this big thing about no, the island of Puerto Rico is not able to vote in the elections. That's why they were so easily to say what they wanted to say about Puerto Rico at the time when they said it. And as I said, they vetted this person's speech and took out other things, but kept that in. Why? Because it didn't matter to them. Because those people are not equated into the equation of voting, at least on the island. However, I don't think they understood the amount of Puerto Ricans that are in the United States right now that are celebrities, that are speaking out, that can make their voices heard for the people that can't vote. But you still have some, just like we have some of these young black men, you still have some Puerto Rican folks, even though he called their island a floating garbage, they come up with all kinds of excuses. Well, it was the comedian, it wasn't Donald Trump, but it was his rally. They will still vote for him in spite of. They will still vote for him in spite of. You can't capture them all. As Harriet Tubman, I'll say it again, like Harriet Tubman said, I would have saved a whole lot. I would have freed a whole lot more people if they would have known they were slaves. Because they didn't listen. They didn't listen. They thought they were safe. Now, this last video I want to show you, and this is Van Lathan. He used to be with TMZ. But I will show you this video, and there's some language in here but I wanted you to hear exactly what he said because it resonates and it brings home the point of what we're dealing with. Now, this was back when he was charged with the 34 counts, but it still resonates as far as what we're dealing with Donald Trump and him becoming the president of this United States, if that does come to fruition. Not only him, but there's certain people in this country that feel the same way that he's describing Donald Trump to be in this video. I want you to watch this.
And another thing is we get to sit back and watch the dissonance in which the party moves with, to where every single thing that's done against Donald Trump is a conspiracy.
Well, yeah,
and every single mistake that he makes is not his fault. We've never seen anyone treated with the singular amount of white privilege that Donald Trump is being treated with. This is a masterclass in white privilege. Trump can't say enough to be racist.
Correct.
He can't commit enough crimes to be a criminal. He can't fail enough to be a failure. And he can't say enough stupid things to be stupid. He is so shielded and insulated by the idea and the concept of whiteness that he is unfucking touchable.
Yeah.
The thought conjured around him matters more than any reality. Any reality. He is a Christian that doesn't know the Bible, that fucks porn stars, that
grabs women by the pussy.
Grabs women by the pussy, is the least Christ-like, but the sheer promise of the whiteness that exists inside of Donald Trump is enough for everyone, white and black people, a lot of them who worship whiteness and aspire to the level of whiteness that Trump has. It's enough for them to say, hey, he's still our guy, no matter what.
It's the whiteness he guarantees to protect. That's what he represents, right? It's their being that he guarantees to protect. And that's true. That's something that they won't say, but that they're voting for.
I don't need to say anything else. That was a master class in breaking down exactly what the mentality is behind Donald Trump and those that support him, with the mentality of the whiteness mentality of superiority. Take it how you want to take it, but it's the real. It's real talk. It's the reality of what we're dealing with and have been dealing with for years in this country. James Battle, people just blow off what Trump says, and many people make excuses for him. He threatens Michelle Obama and Liz Cheney, and people don't take it seriously. He needs to be held accountable. Yeah, for sure. UCB Political Science 101, the government is a reflection of the people, and the people are a reflection of the government. Election Day, Tuesday, November 5th. Anybody that's already voted, thank you. Thank you for getting out, doing your due diligence, being a part of the process. Now we sit back and we wait. We wait to see what the will of the people is going to be in this country. Are we moving forward, or are we going back? Back to a time when rights for women, African Americans, people of brown color were non-existent. Project 2025 is real. I didn't say this. I didn't say this. It's written. 900 and some pages written to show you that it's real. No matter how much they try to distance themselves from it, it's real. That's the way it works. Edward Allen, going early Tuesday morning. Yes, sir. Be there early and be careful, bro. Just watch yourself while you're out there voting. I know you're in Alabama down there, so be careful. You never know. You never know. But here we are, bro. Here we are, everyone. The point we've been waiting for, that I've been talking about for over 1.5 to 2 years, the election is upon us. Everyone should be registered. Everyone should be registered. Everyone should have voted if you can early vote. If you can't and you just want to do it on election day, make sure you go. Be careful. Be careful. There's people out here that don't have your best interests at hand. Like I always say, James Battle, be vigilant, because there's going to be some difficult days ahead. He's already setting up for chaos. Setting up for chaos, already talking about them stealing votes, and all the different things. And here's the other thing we have to look at. This election has to be won by a wide margin in order for this election to be won by Kamala Harris, for the simple fact, if it's close and there's any chance of them being able to impose politics in this, the political process in this, the Supreme Court in this, there's no telling what may happen. It should be in the hands of us as the people to make sure that this man does not ever serve another day in the Oval Office. Going back, and then they woke up, not happening. Yeah. And here's the funny thing. I'm glad you said it. Here's the funny thing. Yeah, I say funny, but the people that are staunch supporters of him, women to include, don't realize or don't get the gist of Project 2025 is not only going to affect people who identify as a Democrat or independent in this country. It's going to affect everyone in this country if Project 2025 is able to be instituted under this administration. That's the part that just doesn't click with me to understand what are you not getting, or what are you not hearing, or what do you choose to think that you're better than? And that's where the problem comes in. They think that they're better than. That superiority complex has them thinking that this doesn't affect me. It will never affect me. Wake up. Wake up. Because if this is able to go into motion, it don't discriminate. It's everybody. Everyone in this country will be affected, whether you voted for him or not. It's that simple. I appreciate everybody tuning in. November 5th, Tuesday. If you're in Alabama, New Hampshire, or I can't remember the other one, but there's only 3 of them, that you got to get out there and vote early Tuesday morning. Get there early, vote, get your popcorn, come home, and just turn on the TV. I haven't made up my mind yet, but I may be doing a show on Tuesday rather than next Saturday or Wednesday this week after the election to go over some of the things. So I'll keep you posted. Just look for an announcement on my timeline, and then we'll go from there. We've been talking about this for over probably 4 years now. As far as the election, we got into a lot of the politics, but now that we're at a point where this election is over, we're going to talk about it, what the outcome is, what the results are, what the impact is going to be, and then we're going to move on to other things. We're going to start having the soul sessions again. We're going to start having some interviews again. We're going to be talking about everyday things that affect us in this world, in this life. So be prepared, be tuned, but we got some more stuff. We still got work to do. It's not over till it's over. We got work to do. Case in point, the Hail Mary that the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels, threw the other day at the end of the game with no time on the clock. It's not over till it's over. So all the ones out there celebrating like that defensive back was for the Chicago Bears, pointing at the fans in Washington and everything, and then he's the one that tipped the ball that got caught. It ain't over till it's over. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'll see y'all again soon. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely keep your faith in God. I'll see y'all soon, and be diligent out there. Not only if you're voting, but even if you're out there on the streets. People are doing things that are not of us. Be prepared, be diligent. I love y'all, and I'm out. I'll holler. Peace.